Could a WWE superstar be on their way out to go to AEW? We're going to talk about that plus some more major news. It's all coming up right here on the Ango Show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to TAS. If you're not a subscriber here, I am giving away a WWEshop.com replica World Heavyweight Championship belt at 100,000 subscribers. I want to kick things off with FX. We've actually talked about the channel so often when it comes to getting professional wrestling. There's been rumors that Disney wanted WWE. There's rumors that maybe AEW, if all doesn't go too well with Warner Bros. Discovery, could potentially make that jump to the FX channel, which is owned by Disney. So this is where things get a little bit interesting for me. Basically, for those who don't know, Fightful Select dropped a report that a new wrestling-based TV show is in the works for FX. Now, without reading the whole article from Fightful Select, I just want to touch on a few things. Basically, they suggested that those familiar with the project claim that a pitch was sold to FX recently in the form of a half-hour comedy series that is set in the Los Angeles independent wrestling scene. The idea is Dazed and Confused meets The Wrestler. One of the names that's associated with it is independent wrestler Luke Hawx, and some very interesting stuff here because obviously FX could very well be in the running for AEW. Now, the reason why this is so intriguing to me is because professional wrestling doesn't often get a lot of love from the mainstream TV networks. Now, obviously, WWE has been killing it with TV deals, and we have to throw a huge congratulations to AEW. Whether or not you like them, they have obviously shown that there is a demand for pro wrestling, especially in the United States, because AEW was able to swoop in and get that TNT TBS TV deal. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because aside from like Roku doing the WWE Next Gen, maybe Vice having Dark Side of the Ring or Who Killed WCW, there's really not that much in the sense of the actual show itself, right? Like in terms of like wrestling being picked up by multiple different networks and stuff like that. I don't know if this is going to do anything for AEW in their negotiations, but clearly in some aspect, the people at FX and Disney wanted something to do with wrestling, and they came in and they're bringing out this show. I think that's a win for professional wrestling. I think that's a good thing for professional wrestling because, quite frankly, it just goes to show you that even if it's not an actual wrestling show, people do have the interest in talking about wrestling or having some sort of content that is based on pro wrestling. And anytime that happens, I think that's a really good win. Really just for the companies that want TV deals, right? Like, I don't know if MLW and TNA and GCW and all these other companies have a real shot with FX. I don't know if that would be an opportunity, but the fact that FX would be willing to have a show surrounding wrestling tells me that maybe one day they could potentially actually have a live wrestling show on their program. I want to turn our attention to Becky Lynch. Obviously, we know that Becky Lynch has become a free agent, but now there is some talks about what could actually be happening. We talked about it before that she might be taking a extended break and all of that great news. But what's really interesting here is on the Fightful Select's Backstage Report podcast, industry sources anticipate that Becky Lynch will be receiving groundbreaking contract offers, potentially making her the recipient of the most lucrative deals over or ever extended to a female wrestler. Sean Ross Sapp commented on this and says, regardless if she's going to go anywhere else, she's likely going to get those insane offers. And that's a beautiful thing. Like, let's not sugarcoat this. You don't have to like Becky Lynch. You don't have to love Becky Lynch. You don't even have to hate Becky Lynch. You don't have to have an opinion on Becky Lynch. But what you should realize is that in terms of a grand scheme of things, Becky Lynch getting the bag, whether it be WWE or AEW or TNA or Stardom or Dancing with the Stars or the WNBA, my point that I'm trying to make is that when somebody is going to get the bag, it's really helpful for all the other people that are below them, right? My point that I'm trying to make is Becky Lynch is not the first one to get the biggest bag. Mercedes Moné just got a very huge bag. So if Mercedes got paid a lot, that now leads to Becky Lynch getting paid a lot. And then for people who are underneath Becky Lynch, maybe it's Bayley, maybe it's Naomi, maybe it's Nia Jax, maybe it's Tiffany Stratton, maybe it's Toni Storm. I don't know. My point that I'm trying to make is that when there is somebody getting that very lucrative offer, it goes to show others that the same thing is possible. It starts to open up an opportunity for others. So you don't have to love Becky. In fact, you might not like Becky at all, but you should want Becky Lynch to get a very lucrative deal because ultimately that helps the rest of the women who are trying to achieve the same thing. I've always believed that you should be paid what you are worth. And I think there is a lot of value in the Becky Lynch name and how WWE has presented her as a WWE superstar. I don't know if, Becky Knox or Rebecca Quinn or like however they go about it, if she were to leave WWE, I don't know if she carries the same amount of influence without the Becky Lynch name. But at the same time, too, I would be very happy to see that she gets the bag. I do think she is going to ultimately come back into WWE. I think she is going to get like Brock Lesnar type of money, right? Like a huge contract where she doesn't have to work as much. I do see Becky Lynch going into that part-time slot, and her appearances will be far more valuable. But it's also important, with somebody like Becky taking time off, right? Liv Morgan stepping up. And there's a bunch of others that should be stepping up now. But yeah, definitely a win for pro wrestling. Definitely a win for the women's division, regardless of the company they're in. Guys, there's some very big rumors that Ricochet could be leaving WWE for AEW. Obviously, there's been nothing confirmed by Ricochet himself. There's nothing been added to this from Ricochet himself. In fact, it's actually been relatively quiet. But we all know that Ricochet is set to become a free agent very soon. There are rumors out there that suggest that Ricochet could very well be getting some insane offers from outside companies. I think it is very clear that AEW would be significantly interested in Ricochet. Will Ospreay has been talking a lot about Ricochet as of late, also posting a photo from their handshake. Look, guys, Ricochet's a hell of a talent. Did WWE drop the ball on him? No, I don't think so. I think Ricochet has always kind of been a great asset to WWE. I think there is a lot more that could be done with Ricochet in WWE. I think Ricochet is a hell of a talent for the WWE. I would also be kind of dumb to not acknowledge the fact that Ricochet going to AEW would have a lot of great matches, right? It really comes down to what Ricochet wants for himself. He is the WWE Speed Champion. Now, for many people who don't understand why that's a big deal, Speed, WWE Speed, that's paid for by X, right? So Elon Musk and that company forked over a lot of money to have this type of content. So he has been put in a position of reliability for WWE. That's one thing to really factor in. I think WWE Speed may not be a big deal to those who commonly watch television, but if you are watching on X, it makes a lot of sense. So for me, the way that I kind of look at this is if Ricochet were to leave WWE for AEW, that's just fine. But I do watch the way WWE books him, and it seems like slowly but surely they're trying to get him to that next level. But you never know. Contract negotiations are going to be really crazy, and why or how WWE allowed so many contracts to get close to expiring will never make sense to me. Do I think he goes to AEW? I think just based on my instinct, my feeling, this is not based on information or anything like that. I would say there's a 50-50 chance that he stays. 50% chance he goes to AEW. So we'll see how it all goes. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Ango Show.